So let's talk about all things Azamara. In this video, we're going to deep dive into what you can expect from a cruise with Azamara. We'll take you through the onboard and the onshore Azamara experience. We'll talk about the cabins, the food and beverage options, the entertainment, the excursions, the white nights, as amazing evening experiences, and really what the highlights were for us.
We cruised with Azamara in August 2024. It was called Croatia Intensive. We sailed on the Azamara Pursuit and we'd like to share our experience with you. So let's get started. We hope that our experience and the information we'll present in this video might help you decide if Azamara would be a cruise option for you in the future.
We're Andrew and Leonie and we like to cruise.
Join us on our travels all over the world as we review a range of cruises, cruise lines, all types of shore excursions, and occasionally an exceptional non-cruise adventure.
And remember to like and subscribe. So let's start with who Azamara is, what their positioning is within the cruise market. Azamara is a relatively new cruise line. It was founded in 2009 by Royal Caribbean. And in the middle of 2021, the COVID pandemic, Azamara was acquired by a private equity group called Sycamore Partners. Azamara today operates 4 ships: Pursuit, Onward, Journey and Quest. All Azamara ships were built between 1999 and 2001 and have been extensively renovated and updated over the years. Now, we found Azamara to be very unique and different cruising experience to many of the other cruise lines we have cruised with. Azamara offer a small ship experience. So let's unpack and discuss what this actually means and what the benefits are to its passengers. All Azamara ships have a capacity of just 680 passengers. This was a massive advantage and benefit for us. Yep. And contributed significantly to our overall enjoyment of this cruise. Now, you particularly have some facts and figures that you were given to by the captain for our specific cruise.
I have. As I said, we sailed the Croatia Intensive voyage, that's what it was called. It left on the 25th of July from Chioggia, just outside of Venice, and it finished in Athens on the 3rd of August. There were 638 people on board, so not capacity, but getting close. Staff crew amounted to 393, and biggest of the passengers, biggest nationality groups, it's hard to say. USA 227, UK 182, Australians like us 79, Canadians 36. So across all the crew there were 35 different nationalities, and across all the guests there were 28 different nationalities.
I think what the small ship experience meant for us was that we never felt crowded during our cruise with Azamara.
Even though the ship was nearly full.
Yeah, typically that meant no queuing to get off or get back on the ship. We've never seen this before, so lack of queues was a huge benefit. Not queuing for drinks or even for a barista-made coffee was another benefit that we saw. We'd often wander around and just say, "Where is everyone?" It never felt crowded or that there were lots of people around. It also meant that for our alfresco dining, which you'll hear a bit more about later, we never missed out on getting a table outside once during our cruise, which was amazing, because I think it was the spot to be. Yeah. For the live entertainment on board, again, there were no queues. We could choose to sit wherever we wanted, front row, back row, or wherever. Not feeling crowded added to what we felt was a luxe onboard experience for Azamara.
Absolutely. Another benefit of the ship's smaller size was that we weren't locked into meal times, which on other cruises we have been and we don't love. So we ate whenever we wanted, based on how we felt or what we'd done that day. Sometimes we might have had a big hot day, got on board late in the day, in the early evening, just had something light to eat, or we might have gone back to our cabin and showered, got changed and came out to have something to eat. So
the flexibility was a huge advantage.
Yeah, wherever we felt like eating, and also whatever we were dressed for. So that was part of the relaxed sophistication, relaxed luxury that we thought was our characterised our Azamara experience.
Yeah. Another fact and benefit of Azamara having smaller ships is that Azamara can dock and get into ports that the bigger ships from the competitors' cruise lines either have to use distant ports and use bus shuttles, or they have to anchor out to sea and run tenders to shore, or they just skip these ports completely. I love the fact that we'd wake up in the morning and we were usually already docked plumb in the middle of an historic port and town. After a barista coffee or two, a yummy al fresco breakfast outside, we simply walked down the gangway and we found ourselves slap bang in the middle of the town. It was a huge benefit to us being docked where the bigger ships just couldn't get to. Mm-hmm. It also meant that if you needed to go back to the ship for any reason during the day, it was usually very easy to just walk back and go back on board and then leave again if you wanted to. So maybe you'd forgotten a hat or needed to recharge a battery, you needed to pick up a towel, baiters for a swim at a local beach, or you just wanted to have some lunch on board. These were all things that we could do on Azamara because we were on a small ship that was able to dock in the middle of town. So in summary, the small ship experience for us was a huge plus and benefit. We really didn't see any negatives. It was just a raft of positives.
Great. We started in Venice, Italy, from a port called Chioggia. We didn't choose to go to Chioggia before the cruise, and that perhaps was a mistake because it looked beautiful. But anyway, we went from Venice to Chioggia, and that's where this cruise started from. Who would ever refuse a night or two in Venice as a precursor to a cruise? Is there a more picturesque place? After a sunset sail out from Chioggia, we woke the next morning already in Croatia at the port of Apatia, excuse the pronunciation. Excuse the pronunciation throughout the whole video. We had the whole day there, leaving at 6 p.m. The next day was Zadar. Again, we arrived at 8. We didn't leave until 10 p.m. The next day, day 4, was day 1 is the day you leave on a cruise. So day 4 was Šibenik, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Day 5, Split, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Day 6, Korčula, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Day 7, Majestic Dubrovnik, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you had heaps of time there. And our final port was a half-day visit to Kotor in Montenegro.
So I think the point to make here is that almost every day in Croatia, we were docked in the morning before we had breakfast,
yep.
And we left after dinner most nights.
Yeah. So
a lot of time.
You didn't lose any time because the time you were sailing was when you were sleeping. So perfect. Because when you think about when you're not on a cruise, how much time you waste getting to the train station, which is easier usually than airports, getting to the airports, hanging around waiting. You're already on the ship, you're already unpacked, you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning somewhere new.
I think it also meant for us that we were able to do 2 experiences in a day instead of just say one tour.
Yeah.
We were able to do an activity, and we'll get to some of these activities in a minute. Yeah. But we combined that with an historic tour as well. So we'd do an adrenaline activity and a historic cultural activity all on the one day, and often go to the beach as well.
Yeah, because it was, we've said the dates we cruised, but to make it crystal clear, it was summer, it was very hot. And just the last comment on travelling, the experience of travelling is tiring. Getting from point A to point B, it's tiring, it's stressful, you've got to work out different transport, make sure you get to wherever at different times. How do you get to wherever, because you might not be able to walk? All that's taken away when you cruise, so that's something we really like about cruising. Anyway, back to the time we had in port. We had incredibly long and full days in each port we visited. We will return to the things we did in those ports. What that extra time in each port meant for us was we had an extraordinary opportunity to, as Andrew's already alluded, have a physical adventure, like some sort of activity, and a historic learning experience in every port. So we loved that combo. We've been on multiple cruises. I think we're up to 14 now, where in some of those cruises you visit maybe 5 different countries in 7 days, and there's a place for that type of cruise. But often you only spend half a day in a port, you really want to stay longer, you miss other ports in that country. It's very much a taster cruise, or that's what we call it. You get a short taste or a bite and you think, oh well, got to come back another day, which hopefully you do and you can. This cruise with Azamara was different because you got to have an extended time in each port, and with the exception of Montenegro, which was a little taste. The rest were all Croatia. So we felt that we had a real taste of that coastline of Croatia, and probably don't feel we've got a real rush that we need to go back there. We felt we saw quite a lot.
Related to the longer time spent in each port, let's talk about the actual short excursions we experienced on this Azamara cruise. Now, I'm not normally prone to exaggeration, so bear that in mind when I say these shore excursions were simply out of this world and have completely reset the bar on what we want and expect on future cruises. Now, that's a pretty big thing to say.
Yeah,
having been on 14 cruises, to say this one really changed our future expectations of what shore excursions can and should be, and what we're looking for in shore excursions.
Can I just add that 14 cruises, our first one was actually in 2016. It's the beginning of 2025 when we record this, so we've actually done 14 cruises in a pretty short space of time because we had 2 years out with COVID in that time, so we like cruising.
During this cruise, we hiked in multiple national parks, and forgive the pronunciation, I'm going to butcher it, but was the Croatia National Park? Is that, how would you say it?
K-R-K-A.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The waterfalls were magnificent.
Yeah, they were.
On another day, I took the wheel of a 40-foot yacht and sailed the islands around Šibenik. When we anchored, we were doing backflips off the back of the yacht like teenagers into the crystal clear waters of the outer islands. Another day, we whitewater rafted down the Cetina River, which is just out of Split. I could see the trout in the water as we're drifting down.
They were really easy rapids. Anyone could do that.
It was lovely.
Gorgeous.
We went for a swim and jumped off some rocks in the Cetina River as well. Another day, we drove ATVs flat out through vineyards and secluded beaches in Cortula, which we loved. And
never driven an ATV. That was fun.
I think my experience was that I thought these ATVs were going to be wound, dialed back, and pretty placid. And in fact, we were struggling to keep up with the group on some occasions. It was flat out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Another day, maybe this was even the highlight. We sea kayaked around the historic old town walls of Dubrovnik. Absolutely amazing, magical movie set experience.
That was a bit harder than the whitewater rafting, but it was beautiful.
Each of these experiences on their own are pinch me moments, but back to back, day after day on Azamara, these excursions and experiences were quite simply extraordinary and outstanding. And as I said, they've really reset the bar in terms of what we're looking for future cruise excursions.
Yep, absolutely. Now, we didn't just do that adrenaline pumping stuff because, we aren't teenagers and we live in Australia. So when we go to Europe, we really want to maximise our dose of culture. Not to say that we don't have culture in Australia, but certainly history. Learn as much as we can while we're there. And we did that because we had whole days to do it in. So our half day was an activity and another part of a day was a walking tour that we did in every historical port we anchored in, and that still left us a bit of time to just wander at our leisure and have a gelati or a cold drink because it was very hot. Sometimes go to the beach and have a swim. So we had enough time to do everything we wanted every day. It was too hot to spend any longer in any town than what we spent. So we loved it.
Let's move on and talk about the dining and beverage experience on board Azamara Pursuit. Industry professionals rate Azamara as a 5.5-star cruise line, but what does this mean? What do you get? What's included? What's not? Let's delve into this topic and provide some detail based on our actual experience.
Yep. Let's come back to what we call relaxed sophistication or relaxed luxury. Almost everything on board Azamara is included in your fare, and that's something else to consider when you're comparing, A cruise with B cruise. Don't look at the fare only, you've got to look at what it includes. So with Azamara, you've got standard beverage package is included. Standard beverage package means everything other than premium spirits and wine. So you can have specialty coffees, fruit juice, international beer, wine, spirits, cocktails, any time during the day, not just with meals, at no additional charge. and if you wanted to upgrade that, you could. We didn't. We thought that was plenty. And I underline any time, because other cruise lines will only offer you wine and beer at mealtime, so with lunch and with dinner. There's nothing wrong with that. But with Azamara, you got more, which we particularly liked, given it was really hot.
Yeah, I guess there was no cap on quantity either. So sometimes we've done cruises and there is a beer or wine offered at dinner, but if you want two, you're really struggling to get
one
that.
glass, but yeah, good luck getting a second.
On Azamara, it's just relaxed luxury. You can have as much or as little as you want. So basically, there was free-flowing alcohol all day, every day. And if you like cocktails, we found there to be a long list which are included at no additional charge. And these are cocktails like daiquiris, mojitos, pina coladas.
Sorry, I should jump in. We do drink alcohol. We like to drink, but we're not. I don't think we're big drinkers.
No, we're not big drinkers.
We're not there on a cruise to drink, get sloshed, and be, wake up at lunchtime the next day. But you could have done that if you wanted to. So we're only trying to highlight that however much you wanted to drink, that was included. You don't have your hand in your pocket.
I just want to say one more thing on that. We have been on plenty of cruises where our fellow passengers were getting their money's worth, and they were there to get their money's worth on their beverage packages. I just didn't find that with the Azamara crowd. They were there to have a drink if they wanted it, but there was no. I never saw anybody really that was like downing them because they were trying to get their money's worth. Or
I never saw people sloshed and untidy, which personally I don't like. So yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to coffee. We're from Melbourne, Australia, and we pride ourselves on our coffee here and our barista-made cappuccinos.
Best in the world, home of my cafe.
yeah, founded in Melbourne. Onboard Azamara Pursuit, cappuccinos, espressos, macchiatos are all included. We found them to be really up to our standard. We enjoyed them daily, usually along with a cookie or two that were freshly baked. I'd often get a cappuccino takeaway as I was actually leaving the ship in the morning to take away with me. And they were literally throwing bottles of chilled water at us every time we got off the ship, which was a really nice touch as well.
It was. They were very, very generous with the water, insisting. And it was very hot. So, yeah, that was a nice touch. There are 6 onboard dining options on Azamara Pursuit. They've got 2 specialty restaurants, Aquilina with an Italian-inspired menu, and Prime C, which is a steakhouse. We were lucky enough to try both. Both those specialty restaurants attract a supplement. It's about $50 US a head.
Yeah.
So do it if you like. Don't do it if you don't like. You don't need to. There's plenty of other options. We did really love both Aquilina and Prime C, particularly Prime C. We had a degustation, a tasting menu. It was fabulous. So we had a very charismatic,
yes,
animated, both of those words, sommelier. That night, as we had a wine pairing with it, who made it a very memorable evening.
That was a fantastic night.
But the meal, more importantly, the food itself was incredible. We loved that dinner.
The main dining room is called Discoveries. It's a classic white tablecloth full-service restaurant. Reservations are not accepted, and you have the choice of a table for 2 or joining a group table if you'd prefer. The menu consists of classic dishes, which are always available, as well as themed, daily changing world cuisine dishes like Indian or Italian, and destination-specific options, which in our case were specialty dishes from Croatia that were featured each day, and they changed.
Drum roll. What was our favourite and most visited restaurant? Now, this is the first video we've ever done, so you don't know anything about us. We've said we're from Melbourne, which is a food capital. I'd say we're foodies. We're pretty keen on our food. We don't generally like buffet restaurants. We've been known to go on cruises and never go to the buffet restaurant. But our favourite restaurant on Azamara Pursuit, the one we went to the most, was the buffet restaurant called the Windows Cafe. Why was it our favourite restaurant? Well, the food was very good, and there was a great selection, ever changing. I'll come back to that. But the main reason that we loved it was we could sit al fresco. Andrew's mentioned that a few times already. So we never missed out on getting a table outside, under the shade. It was free seating. Every day the food changed. It was a country specific, so Italian one night, Indian one night, and there was cooked to order live stations as well. But so the food was great. Great variety, changed every day, but the main thing was the location. Sitting outside on a hot day or hot evening, and you've got a view of wherever we were in Croatia behind us. Fabulous.
Magnifico.
There's
also a casual poolside grill restaurant called The Patio, which is a cook-to-order restaurant serving burgers, wraps, sandwiches and fries. This is a great option if you're back on board late and just want something quick and easy. The final dining option is the Mosaic Cafe, open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. It's a classic cafe which, aside from serving very good barista-made coffee, also served cakes, light sandwiches, pastries and scones and cookies.
So you're not going to go hungry. Overall, the food and beverage offer on board Azamara exceeded our expectations. It helped promote the ambience of relaxed sophistication. At no time, you've said this already, did we see fellow guests overindulging in alcohol just because it was included. I would have said, from my point of view, passengers were relaxed. They had a drink because they felt like one, not because they were downing them to get their money's worth. And when you're comparing cruises and this one against that one, you should look at the quality of the food and beverage offer. And we thought that the value for money for the food and beverage offer on Azamara was excellent. I can't say it any other way. Well, we were really impressed.
The next topic to discuss is the onboard entertainment on board Azamara Pursuit. There are 2 nighttime live entertainment shows every day. There is a resident band with dancers and singers performing an eclectic range of shows each day. Because it's a small ship, getting access to or a seat at any show was never a problem for us. The standout performance here was the assistant cruise director, believe it or not.
A giant, literal giant of a man.
His name was Nicholas Simpson, who performed the best live show we've ever experienced on board a cruise ship. And I think that's wow. It's really saying something. He's a tenor who sang a range of songs from Broadway classics through to powerful operatic anthems like Nessun Dorma. He was superb, someone I would pay to see in Melbourne. Overall,
we might have gone twice.
Overall, the onboard entertainment was very good. We saw a live show most nights and we really enjoyed them. So you can't ask for much more than that in terms of your enjoyment of the onboard entertainment experience.
Yeah. Something else to factor into the fare that you're paying for a cruise. You're getting as many, a live show a day, more than that if you see some live entertainment during the day, if you want to. So let's talk about the passengers. I already gave you the stats. The Americans were the largest group on board, about 50%, followed by Brits, Australians, Canadians, and a wide smattering of other nationalities. Probably what surprised me a bit was the age range, no children or families. It suited me. We have cruised before with our children, but when we don't have them, it's nice not to see little kids around. I felt most passengers are in their late 50s to 60s, so the younger end of many cruises we've been on, and probably that makes sense because it's an immersive destination intensive focus, that's a lot of words, with long days in port, so it's probably the type of cruise that suits a more active minded and slightly younger passenger. So we felt it was our demographic. And
so narrowing that down, not families and not an older crowd like we've seen on many cruise ships, and the active passenger range in, I'd say, people in their 50s and 60s was the predominant demographic.
Yeah. Now we're generalising, of course, but just it's important because sometimes it's happened to us. We've got on a cruise and felt like we were cruising with our passengers, with our parents, or even older, and it's not necessarily what we want to do. We're in our can we still say mid-50s? Yeah, we'll say mid-50s. So we probably don't want everyone else on the boat to be 85. So this suited us.
Yeah, look, I was personally impressed with many of the passengers we met. They were not first-time cruisers, I've got to say. Most knew what they wanted, and that was to tour in more depth at a slower, deeper pace. They seemed inquisitive and genuinely excited about each new port they were visiting. We had some great discussions with these folks about where they'd been, what they'd seen, and you could just see that there was general excitement in the attitude of fellow passengers. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
The cabin on board met our expectations. We had a veranda cabin which had a private balcony and which came with really great views of the Adriatic every day. What's not to like? The bed was super comfy. I would say it's a cut above a standard cruise line's bed. No problems at all with the aircon, the TV. The cabin had a couch, had plenty of storage. If anything, the bathroom was a bit on the smaller side, but somehow it all worked, so no complaints. I'd say we had a great room, and really it was a sanctuary away from the heat and the hustle and bustle of the ancient ports we were visiting, but with a great view every day. And that's what really appealed to me.
We'll put some photos up of our cabin so you can see what it looked like. Our cabin number, for anyone who's interested in looking it up, was 7015, forward on the starboard side, so the right hand side of the ship. The TV Andrew alluded to was a plasma flat screen, whatever you call them, which everyone seems to have now. One channel had a map of where we'd been, where we were going, weather, distance, sunset time, course, latitude, longitude for those people that are interested. There was another one talking about the shore excursions that you could do. There were some English news channels. There was an Azamara channel detailing itineraries that you could book in the future, and some movie channels as well. So the TV had lots of information. You mentioned the bathroom being a bit small. Yeah, probably, but that's standard cruise ship.
It worked.
It worked.
It worked.
You just get changed separately. You make sure you've got your timings so that you've got enough time, because it's a one-person bathroom, but every cruise ship that we've been on's been a one-person bathroom.
Go on board, unpack once.
Unpack once, love that.
Love it.
And there's a laundry too. So if we don't come back and talk about that, one of the absolute things I really loved on this ship, boring, but it's important. Practical, is a self-service laundry, unlimited, detergent was included as well. Make a beeline for there on the day you board the cruise if you've got dirty laundry backed up, because it gets very busy. But after that, you'll be able to find a time. It was on our deck, so that was easy. And in summer, it's really handy to have a laundry, because you can't rewear stuff. So they're too sweaty. So that was a great benefit. Thanks, Azamara.
Every Azamara cruise includes 2 special evenings. One is called an Azamazing evening, and the second is a White Nights evening. So if we start with the Azamazing evening, this is usually a private, bespoke event where you can experience the best of a local culture that goes beyond a typical cruise offering. It might be a private orchestra performance in a historic European castle, or a bustling local festival in an exotic port of call, or perhaps a romantic evening under the stars. Azamazing celebrations promise to be one of the highlights of your cruise.
That's what the Azamara spiel is, and I don't want to be too negative, but we didn't love it. We're a bit disappointed. For some reason, I don't know why, we didn't have an off-ship experience. Instead, a cultural group was brought onto the ship. For me, the show was a bit of a confusing mix of singing, dancing, storytelling, gymnastics. The MC was a woman who loved herself a bit too much. I don't want to be too negative. I'm sure they were all trying their best, but we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, it promised a lot, but just failed to fire. So that's okay. There were plenty of other highlights of this cruise. White Night, on the other hand, was fabulous. From 4 p.m, they remove all the sun lounges from beside the pool on decks 9 and 10 and replace them with tables and chairs. Nearly everyone on board adhered to the white dress code, and I thought everyone looked amazing. Yeah,
we'll pop some photos up, because our White Night was in Dubrovnik. Well, not in Dubrovnik, but we were anchored in Dubrovnik. So with the sun setting and everyone wearing white, it was just glorious. Looked amazing. What also looked amazing was the huge buffet. I have never seen a buffet anything like the size of this buffet.
Well, it was to feed 635 passengers.
Yeah,
so.
I guess. Obviously, it's a well-oiled machine because I do it every cruise, but all the food and beverage crew and the officers were out helping. They were in their white uniforms. They were helping serving food. The captain made an appearance.
We did the white napkins over our heads.
The white napkin. That was a bit of fun. There was music the whole night. Started with a DJ on a stage. Then there was a live band. Then there was the signature singers and dancers, which are the troupe that ship employs. Went through till 10 p.m. Lots of dancing, lots of fun, lots of food. We actually kicked on afterwards and danced away to ABBA songs. But back to the white night. Hot tip, if you're cruising in summer, like we did, get there early to try for a shaded table. It was very hot until sunset, and I think that if you were sitting in the full sun...
you might have fried.
You might have fried or left early because I think it just would have been a bit too hot. So luckily we got a shaded table and we had a really, really, really fun night.
The dress on board was pretty relaxed. We think that that's a theme of modern cruising. There is a dress code post 6 p.m. on Azamara cruises, and that is no bare feet, tank tops, baseball caps, bathers, shorts and torn jeans in the dining room and specialty restaurants. I personally found that long trousers were required in the specialty dining rooms, and I chose to wear a jacket for some of those restaurants, although I noticed that a lot of men were not wearing jackets.
No, but they did enforce the long trousers.
They did.
Yeah. So, want to get to a Q&A to finish up?
What did you think of Azamara?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure that we even specified this at the beginning, but this is the first time we'd ever cruised with Azamara, so these are our first impressions. Loved it for all the reasons we've said. Loved that it was a smaller ship. Loved that it was relaxed luxury. We like that now that we're a bit old. I'll say speak for me. I like that now that I'm a bit older. Loved the long days in port. Loved the country immersion. Food was great. Liked that I could drink whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Loved that I could sit outside to eat. I think they're the main things.
Yeah,
Loved the laundry.
I don't disagree with any of that. For me, what I liked best were the shore excursions.
I didn't mention that.
I was blown away by those.
Yep.
Blown away. And I also liked the fact that I could do a cruise where I could do one country in a lot of depth. That's something that I just don't see on a lot of cruise itineraries. So that was something that I was hopeful that it was going to be good, but it far exceeded my expectations. So very happy camper with respect to our Azamara cruise.
So, $64 million question. Andrew, would you cruise with Azamara again?
Yes, and in fact, we've decided to put our hard-earned down on a cruise this year, 2025, and we're doing another destination immersive cruise with Azamara.
So watch out for a video on that. That'll be, the cruise is in September, so video will be after that. And that's of Spain, which we've only touched a couple of cities of Spain previously, so that'll be a couple of weeks of Spain, so we're looking forward to that. If any of you have any questions, you'd like to know more about anything we spoke about or anything we didn't speak about, send us some comments, and
don't forget to press like and subscribe.
We hope this will be a semi-regular series because, as we said, we do like cruising, and we'd like to tell you what you want to hear, so let us know.
See you on the water somewhere.
Thanks for listening.